South Africa is on the verge of collapse. Over the past decade, the economy of South Africa just continues to spiral into decline. The unemployment rate as it currently stands within the state is almost 33%. And to make matters worse, at one point in time, the country's once reliable and cheap electricity has now become arguably the single biggest threat to the entire nation's economy. The company that operates the nation's power, Eskom, has struggled to keep the lights on for residents all across the country for months, and now experiences constant blackouts. Plants across the country are breaking down, and for every single one that falls, the electrical grid would become even more unstable. Eskom authorities have now turned to enacting forced blackouts in order to try and prevent a total system collapse, which hits the economy even worse as businesses and households alike have now tried to scramble to obtain more expensive backup options. The problems that are being faced by everyday South Africans are affecting them harshly now, and there seems to be no way to resolve that.
Hi, Timbalani.
How are you?
No, all good this side, thank you.
Oh, well, we're all good this side as well. Welcome to the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's your first time here. How do you feel?
Lovely.
Nervous?
No, but it's lovely being out in the outside.
Ah, that's good. That's good. Okay. So, we hear about your initiative that we've heard about and you've been working on for the past few months, and yeah, you've been quite passionate about it as well. It's called Light Up the Midlands.
Light Up South Africa.
Light Up South Africa, not just the
Yes.
Midlands. Yes. Light Up South Africa. Can you give us a little bit of an overview on that project? I know it's a kind of a renewable energy, sustainable energy project that you're trying to bring in, since we have this whole energy crisis in our country. Apart from the energy crisis, we have a lot of crises. We have a lot of problems. I mean, look at us, we're sitting at 33% unemployment. It's crazy. But can you just...
It's actually higher.
Yeah, it's going higher. But can you give us a bit of an overview of the project and what it's about?
Okay. I think probably the most important is to know where the project started. Yeah. Because if you don't understand where it started, it's very hard to understand where we're going with it.
Yeah.
It was on the 12th of January. I made the mistake. Well, actually, it's not a mistake, but I went onto one of our community chat groups and I just saw how people were suffering with the load shedding. And I actually said to everyone, I said, come on, I'm sure there's something we can do as a community to overcome this. And I just realized that there was such a need in the country. And the more I did research into it in starting the initiative, I realized that wasn't the only major crisis. And I'd been hiding in my little cave for way too long. And it was actually time to do something, because the country's going to be in a terrible state very, very soon. I mean, it's already bad, but it's going to get a lot worse if we don't do something very soon. So I started doing research into how to get sustainable energy into homes of people who can't afford it. Yeah. And that just sparked off so much more. So essentially the first step with the project is clean energy as much as you can get into homes, and specifically people. I realized that we had to actually do something about the problem. So we started looking at ways to get sustainable energy and reliable energy into the homes of people who can't necessarily go out and afford to purchase a solar system on their own, but who do pay all their utilities and stuff every month religiously. So that's where the drive started. And then as we did, because obviously you've got to then have a look into all the different types of solar, what works best in our climate, etc. And the more research that we did before actually deciding what systems would work best in our climate, we just realized the heap of issues that we need to tackle. So with each system comes security cameras, it comes with JoJo tanks, because water shedding's the next thing around the corner. So it became all encompassing to deal with a lot of crisis. Like, for example, the security cameras are to improve home security, because if we can get home businesses in the middle class up and booming, that has a knock-on effect down the line for employment. A lot of poor people are losing their jobs because the middle class can no longer afford to employ them. So if you can get the middle class back on track, you've immediately alleviated a lot of the unemployment in the poor areas. It isn't enough though. It's a start, but it's not enough. And then having a look, and then people just kept saying, well, what about me? Do I qualify for the project? And then we had to have a look at how the project would affect each area. So, for example, the very rich areas, in my books, if you can afford to go off the grid on your own, please do so. We need to remove 200,000 entities off the grid in order to stabilize the grid. Those are the current stats. The stats might get worse, but currently we are sitting at 200,000 entities not grid tied, need to be removed from the grid in order for the grid to stabilize. So if you can afford to do it on your own, please do so. This is aimed for the people who can't afford to but do pay their utilities. Then as the project rolls out, so that immediately will alleviate a lot of stress in homes, see unemployment decrease, etc., etc. But now when you come to the settlements, we cannot put these systems into homes and settlements.
I think we'll get to that.
A lot of poor people are losing their jobs because the middle class can no longer afford to employ them. So if you can get the middle class back on track, you've immediately alleviated a lot of the unemployment in the poor areas. It isn't enough though. It's a start, but it's not enough. And then having a look, and then people just kept saying, well, what about me? Do I qualify for the project? And then we had to have a look at how the project would affect each area. So, for example, the very rich areas, in my books, if you can afford to go off the grid on your own, please do so. We need to remove 200,000 entities off the grid in order to stabilize the grid. Those are the current stats. The stats might get worse, but currently we are sitting at 200,000 entities not grid tied, need to be removed from the grid in order for the grid to stabilize. So if you can afford to do it on your own, please do so. This is aimed for the people who can't afford to but do pay their utilities. Then as the project rolls out, so that immediately will alleviate a lot of stress in homes, see unemployment decrease, etc., etc. But now when you come to the settlements, we cannot put these systems into homes and settlements.
I think we'll get to that.
Okay. So
now we just had the overview, and now we're just giving the whole project.
Oh, sorry.
We didn't get to that.
Sorry.
That's okay, Claire. Now, with this being a sustainable, a renewable energy project, what I always look at is how long is it going to be? Usual solar power energy, like solar batteries, usually last let's say 25 years, and then your one has a 50-year.
Yes.
So how is that possible?
It's brand new technology, and the fact that it is able to be refurbished, have maintenance done on it, and give it another life cycle. So you're looking at about 25 years, and then you have it serviced. I'm not sure if that's the correct word. I'm not the technician. And then it can go for another 25 years. And at this stage, they haven't really reached a limit to how many times they can be serviced, because none of them have ever reached their lifespan yet. So
where's this technology from? Is it locally produced, or is it something?
Actually, yes, in Joburg.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But do you know the company's name?
Yes.
Can you ask the company's name?
Yes, that is Supercap Group.
Supercap Group.
Yeah.
I will have to look them up, and I'll show the people a link to their maybe website. They can check them out as well. But it sounds
more than that. It's the environmental impact when you're having, because they are lithium, but it's not lithium ion. It's I can't, again, I'm not the technician, but it is lithium based, and that's got to be mined. And so the environmental impact, with the section that has to be cut, let me, fluff everywhere. Okay. With that, it's also the environmental impact, because you're not having to mine as much as you would if you're doing new batteries every time.
Okay. And then with the Midlands being where you're based, right? And you said you looked at into the groups where people from around the Midlands, or did you look at a group where you looked around the whole of SA?
Well, we're going to start in the Midlands and then branch out to the rest.
So as I was saying, when you looked at the group that you said you were looking at, was it a local group?
That was our local Maryvale group, yes.
So as you've identified, you said that's the people that you see that have the problem, obviously in your own community.
Yes.
When you start the project, are you going to start off in Maryvale?
Yes. Yeah. So we will start off in Maryvale and then branch out within Umgeni, and then from Umgeni to the rest of South Africa.
So lucky for Maryvale then.
Well, aren't you glad that you're from the Midlands as well?
I'm glad I'm from the Midlands, but as I said, I think being the first to have something, and also being that pilot group that has the opportunity to try something that might change SA. I mean, Maryvale is quite lucky. But now, with the residents, how have they been taking this? Have they been welcoming
They are so excited. They really are.
What are some of the problems they've been facing as well with load shedding? Because that's one of the something that want to raise issues or raise a light on. What are some of the issues people from Maryvale are having because of load shedding?
Well, the reason why this initiative actually started is the night that I was telling you about on the 12th of January. A lady had to be rushed to hospital because she's on oxygen, and with the severe load shedding, she ran out of oxygen. So that was basic, and we're sitting here with backup power, so we don't feel the load shedding. And I just realized what an issue it was, and that something had to be done.
Someone who doesn't have the backup power.
Food being wasted is a small fry in comparison to somebody potentially losing their life because of load shedding.
Definitely, it's scary.
Yeah.
And losing a family member just because the lights went on. And they don't. I don't think our government really, even as much as they know it's going on, not being any insulting them, but I don't think they actually understand the full extent of how it's affecting the country.
I don't know if they care. So I don't know if you want to edit that out, but I'm not sure if they actually care.
Yeah, but no, this podcast is a podcast that encourages a lot of free expression, and if that's editing out, I just feel like that would be cheating your expression. I also feel like they don't care. We both feel like it, but that's where we see where the country is at right now. Because if we actually look at that, it just shows how it's
a lack of caring.
It's a lack of caring. So financing is often a significant hurdle in this kind of thing. So how do you guys plan on financing this kind of thing?
Right. So what we've done is we've registered preferred shares. Preferred shares are a lot safer for the investor, as they are for the company as well, because it doesn't stifle company growth. But in the event that a company goes bankrupt, if you've bought common shares, you lose everything. If you bought preferred shares have to be paid out before anything else does.
Okay.
So it is a lot safer for the investor, and we've had it set at a 15%. Is it at the start? I just heard right.
15%
dividend.
Dividend, yes.
So it's paid out at a 15% dividend per annum, and the payments are done biannually. So we've tried to make it, especially in this economic climate, as enticing for investors as possible.
Especially now, looking at even international investors don't have that much confidence in the country. So having that, I mean, usually their rate is about 3 to 6%. So
Australia is sitting at 2.
Imagine. So that's quite how do I put it? A nice way to entice investors to actually invest in a project. And a lot of people will be like, how can you guarantee that kind of return then?
Right. So basically, the way we've set it up is that we've got a guaranteed way of the repayments coming in. So unlike with Eskom, people aren't able to tap in and steal electricity, and it's on a pay-as-you-go system. If we go to a potential client and you can see that they've been tampering with wires, they will not get a contract. We are not obliged to give this system to everyone. This system is for people who want it. This is for people who will be happy to pay to have change in their life. So if we're not going to we don't want Skabengas on board, you can stay with Eskom. If you are, sorry, I've just got to
edit that out as well.
Thank you. I felt like something was crawling on my face.
We're outside. We're outside. There's no stuff.
So essentially, we want to give the opportunity to the honest citizens and residents of this country that want to get back to a life of normality. If you are stealing electricity, you're not in the program. If you are tampering and bypassing things, you're not part of the program. And it's that simple. So we're offering this to people who are honest and want to change their lives and want a change in South Africa. And to be perfectly honest, if you are one of the ones stealing electricity, you're part of the problem that we're in, and we don't need to help you. We are not obliged by law to have to help you.
Okay. And then what about businesses? How can they get involved into this project? Apart from getting out of the grid, how can they get involved in trying to find a way to make a change or make a difference in our current situation and with this project?
Well, they can start, number one, by purchasing shares so we can actually get going with the project.
Yeah.
And then because it's an encompassing project that offers a lot of different avenues, it will be job creation in a whole lot of markets. So, for example, if a company does installations of gas, of electricity, of solar, etc., plumbers, they're welcome to get hold of us. Obviously, our rates we're not open to be extorted. So we have declined a few people. We had one quote that somebody wanted to quote us 42,000 Rand to install a JoJo tank.
Okay, that's a lot.
Originally.
Okay.
Because it shows a level of dishonesty. So we will be doing things like washing solar panels, security providers. So there's a lot of ways for people to actually get involved because it's a broad spectrum. It's not just installations or selling equipment.
No, okay. So, and then what are the risks that people should be aware of when it comes to this kind of thing?
That's actually a very, very hard question. I have literally spent 9 months sitting behind my laptop working out kinks. And my biggest thing was risk analysis and going over every risk in everything that. Basically, we started with seven different models and of implementation. So from individual installations to small cascades to large cascades, etc., etc. So basically, from 7 different systems, and the most important thing to me was risk analysis, and trying to find a way that there were minimal risks and trying to eliminate risks. So it's very hard to answer that when I have literally worked around the clock to try and eliminate any form of risk.
Yeah.
For us at this stage, obviously manufacturers' errors would be a risk. That is covered by their insurance. So if there is a manufacturer's error, the equipment gets sent back and they have to replace it.
Yeah, so even though there might be some risks, you've taken the time to consider them and make sure that if there are risks, you can mitigate them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think basically at this stage, our biggest risk is natural disasters.
Ooh, which are really a problem these days.
They really are. And that, unfortunately, there's no way around. There's nothing anyone can do. So what we have done with that is take out extensive insurance so that everything is covered. So
Just in
if-
case anything breaks.
Well, with the floods that we had last year, for example, if it got to the point that somebody's house got washed away, I would hope that they've got home insurance, that their house is then sorted out, but our insurance will cover to replace the entire system. So that's why I say is risk analysis has been my major priority through this. So the only risks really are stuff that's out of our control, but we've done everything in our power to even make sure that those risks are taken care of.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, when it comes to the people that we're actually doing this for as well, the country itself, how do you plan on actually engaging with the community, with different stakeholders, and maybe having like workshops and like that, and telling them about what this thing is, and maybe, because I think for me, community buy-in is one of the biggest things as well. So maybe workshops. Do you have any ways of engaging with the community to bring this to them or bring this to their attention anymore?
At this stage, just on WhatsApp media platforms. Obviously, as the project grows, then we will have to grow with it. But I mean, at this stage, it's quite manageable. But when we're getting to the point that we're doing 1,000 homes a month, then at that stage, we're actually just going to bring in HR people to actually be able to engage with the communities, because at that point, I'm not going to have the time to.
Yeah, definitely. And then, would there be anything that you want like people to know about the project that I might have missed out on? What would you want people to know about this initiative? Because to me, it's more than just.
Okay, so it's far more encompassing than just restoring electricity to the middle class. When the project really gets going, one of our focuses is actually going to be on the settlements and job creation, because at this stage we have to not restore, I don't think that's even the right word. We need to stabilize the economy and then build it up. So restoring sort of means that it's capped to a point, but we want to build the economy up to something way beyond what it's been before. So we're going to be looking at doing industrial villages in settlements. And the reason for that is if you put the solar installations into homes there, they then become targets. They have no means of repaying the systems.
Is that the people in the village or?
Well, in settlements.
Settlements.
Yeah. So with an industrial village, we've actually got a team at the moment looking at what the international market deficits are, so that we can build factories to service the international needs, which then gives jobs to at least 1,000 local people, gives housing gives housing to local people as well, and all of that will be everything that we're going to be using to build the housing is going to be made in our first factory that we set up, which is going to be working on recycled goods.
Actually, we talked about that earlier. Can you please explain that a bit? Because I was actually amazed when you explained about the bricks and how they work.
Okay, so essentially our first industrial village that we're looking at, well, it's not technically an industrial village because we won't be putting up housing first. What we're going to do is set up a factory for recycling, and the recycling then gets turned into building materials. So your blocks, your roofing, etc. And because of the design of them, it also comes insulated. And when you've got a tin roof, you can hear the rain on the roof, you can hear the hail on the roof. You are subject to being frozen from your tin roof. You are subject to being boiled because of your tin roof. Whereas with these, and it's literally being made out of garbage. They've got a place in the Cape at the moment that's doing it. So we want to set up one here in KZN, so that we're making the blocks for our future industrial villages to be able to build the homes and stuff out of the garbage. So we're not only providing jobs, We will then also be providing homes, free electricity, and actually building the economy from the ground up.
And clean up the environment.
Exactly.
That's the big one as well. I mean, sustainable energy will make sure that there's less fossil fuels being used, and then cleaning up the garbage to create homes as well. I mean, that's big.
Yeah. So that's what I say is it's an all-encompassing program, from improving security to giving reliable energy to the environment, to the economy, to job creation, so there's been a lot of time and effort that's gone into each section of the project to make sure that we can actually deal with the issues at hand with the country. Our aim with this is, in the next 10 years, the only people that we want to see living on the streets are people who have chosen to be there. We want to see in the next 10 years, the only people living in tin shacks are people that have chosen to live there. They're not living on the streets out of necessity because there are no jobs. They are not living in tin shacks because they have no choice. So in the next 10 years with our project, we want to see that the only people that are in those positions are people that have made the choice to be there.
Makes sense. I think that's, for me, that's quite everything that I need. I don't know, from your side, do you want to say anything else?
That's it.
Okay, perfect then.
Except please contact one of our consultants and buy shares.
I was about to ask that. So how do people get a hold of you now?
All right, so on the Trendsetters website, so it's the trendsetters.co.za. You can actually log in on the Light Up South Africa page, LUSA, and there is a section there that you can either contact one of the consultants to be able to purchase shares, or you can either contact them directly, or you can just go onto the website, send us a message, and someone will phone you back.
Oh, awesome. As I said, for me, this looks more like it's more than an investment to me. It's what you call making a difference in the country. So yeah, thank you very much, Claire, and thank you for your time and sharing Light Up South Africa with us. Hopefully a lot of people get to hear this information and they decide to join, because I want to get myself a solar panel as well. I mean, people like me who do remote work, it's hell during load shedding. When we lose Wi-Fi, it's the worst thing. I mean, that's one of the that's one of the things that we complain about as like remote workers. If they're gonna change the system, and we have more remote workers than before COVID, so if we have more remote workers, and then boom, load shedding, no people are employed. Once again, we're just back at square one.
Well, that's exactly it. And that's why we've got to actually stabilize the grid. We've got to get uninterrupted power back to the people, because that is one of the reasons our economy was already very rocky before the load shedding started.
Yeah.
And then adding the load shedding, it's just plummeted. So this is now the time where we, the people, need to take the power literally back into our own hands.
Exactly.
And actually ensure that we've got the tools to do the jobs that we need to do. And that starts with uninterrupted power, so that we, the people, can rebuild the economy for ourselves.
Okay. Thank you very much, Claire. That's it.